So listen, man, you already know, you know where I came from. You know my story. You know I've been in the wheelchair for the last 29 years. But there's this story that I want to share with you. And I want you to understand what it is to be in your emotions and how sometimes that emotional piece will literally get you stuck. And so I was about maybe a year into me being into Worcester, Massachusetts, just transitioned from Connecticut. I was just in the chair for a couple of years. And I remember I had to go from one side of town to the other side of town. And I remember, getting through the snow because it was a blizzard and the snow was yay high, the winds were strong, the snow was so thick I couldn't really see a foot ahead of me, right? If you're from up north, you know what kind of winter I'm talking about. And I promise you, I didn't have no gloves, but I couldn't just stay there. I had to go from that side of town to the other side of town. As I'm pushing myself, my hands was getting that frostbite. I could feel it. It hurt, right? Uncomfortable. And I happened to get stuck on the sidewalk. And what I mean by stuck on the sidewalk, I hit some ice and I couldn't move forward. I couldn't move backwards. Now, mind you, I'm in my chair and I'm sitting there and I'm looking around and I'm trying to see if I see somebody or anybody that could help me. And for about 15 to 20 minutes, man, I sat there and I'm not going to lie, man, I started panicking and I started getting frustrated. My tears were starting to come down. Why? Because I was just angry. I couldn't believe that I was in a position that I felt, vulnerable. Just couldn't get out of my situation. I felt stuck, right? And I was somewhat scared and frustrated because not only I was homeless, but now here I am I'm just sitting in a blizzard all by myself. And as I sat there, I was so angry, I started crying. And I remember just looking through the snow and I see a car kind of pull up and, I'm on the sidewalk and a gentleman kind of pulled up, got out the car, Caucasian brother, older gentleman. And he's like, yo, do you need help? But by the time he got out the car, I was so angry and so frustrated. I told him like, nah, I'm good. And he was looking at me like he could visually see that I was stuck and I needed some help. And I'm like, nah, I'm good. And so he tried to bargain with me, and ultimately, he was just like, listen, I can't leave you out here. And so he went behind me and he's like, I apologize, but I'm just going to help you get on the street. And he was able to get me from the sidewalk, get me out of that a piece of ice, put me on the street. And then he got in his car and kind of rolled away. Right. But I wanted to share that with you because a lot of us, we get stuck in that emotional piece because, we feel like nobody's there. We so stuck in what we're going through that when help does come, we don't allow it to come in, right? And so I just praise God for that opportunity that gentleman took the time to get out his car, take me out of that situation. But I really want you to identify, like, how many times do we get stuck in certain situation? And these are the stories that I'm going to share when it comes down to the podcast, right? We got the P2P podcast, and I just want you to really know that we're going to go in depth. We're going to really break down. There's a lot of trials and tribulations that Jorge went through. From that paralyzed to prosperous mindset, and it's a lot of stuff that I don't speak on. Like I was homeless. I remember traveling from one side of town to the other side of town in the middle of blizzards many times. Right. I remember falling asleep. And people, I would visit certain friends or certain people that I kind of not, just starting to build a relationship, and I would act like I was falling asleep on their sofa because I didn't have nowhere to go, right? These are the type of stories we're going to share on the podcast because I want you to know you're not by yourself. Like, I want you to know that every great individual or every individual that you look up to or you see that you're like, I aspire to be at that level. They've gone through their journey. They've been at that paralyzed mindset, but they've been able to come. They've been able to make adjustments. They've been able to seek results.